Boruto, episode 29, the new 7 Ninja Swordsmen. So this episode was fairly interesting. Not as crazy and chaotic as I thought it was going to be, but it's certainly leading into a more chaotic episode with, next week where it's in the middle of the actual action. This episode kind of kicked off the action. We have, the whole next episode is focusing at least on Sarada versus the one woman with like the twin lightning blades, which is very interesting. Like the whole point is like, this is the next episode. The whole trailer was like showing like Boruto fighting Boruto and other characters, and they showed like one spot I think of Sarada when she used the Sharingan, and other than that it was like showing Boruto and everything, and it was like Sarada and this woman talking in the background, and all the shots were of Boruto and other characters. And I was like, that is super funny, but I am excited for that. I'm mostly looking forward to just seeing Sarada fight because I like her character, so I want to see her as she progresses, using the Sharingan and stuff, especially considering this is right after her arc where she officially unlocks it. So I'm definitely looking forward to how that's going to play out with her, going up against this character. Naturally, they pit her against the lightning character, so that, the whole thing with Sasuke. So I like that idea. This episode in general, like I said, it was fairly simple. They go into the action, and they're kind of building up that basically all of Boruto and Sarada's, friends, like all the guys, were basically like, okay, but, that was kind of weird that Boruto and Sarada, are kind of just taking off. So, Denki is kind of just left there. Iwabe takes off before Boruto and Sarada even show up, but he ends up running into the guy from the other episode who helped. So somehow that'll, him torturing that dude will probably lead to him getting to the fight. And then Shikadai and Inojin, they're both there, so they're like, alright, well, it would be wrong of us to, kind of just let this slide. It seems like some action's about to go down. So, let's go help our friends out. They end up running into Mitsuki and Suigetsu as they're talking, and we finally get kind of the reveal of what Suigetsu is doing there. And basically, it was just to tell Mitsuki, don't help Boruto. That was pretty much the whole thing. Don't help him out, and that was it. And Mitsuki was like, I think at this point, because they're still hiding it, so I guess at this point I'll just go along with them, like keeping the secret, I guess. For anyone who hasn't already been spoiled by some of my previous reviews, I won't say who this he person is. You can probably figure it out, especially with Suigetsu showing up. But yeah, it's like, Suigetsu was there just to be like, yeah, don't help Boruto out, you're not allowed to. And Mitsuki's like, I think at this point he knows that I'm going to do whatever I want to do, so he decides he's going to help Boruto. And Suigetsu is kind of pissed off that this group, that Shizuma and Kagura and their small group, are calling themselves the new 7 Swordsmen. And I thought that was interesting. Like, he was almost just annoyed. It was like they kind of took something that belongs to like actually strong fighters, and I mentioned this in my last review, is like strong fighters like Suigetsu himself and his brother, and then of course you have Zabuza, who naturally gets a mention. We also find out that the woman who uses the twin lightning blades, she is the daughter of maybe the previous owner. I would assume the previous owner. Everybody's just like related to somebody in this freaking arc. Like it's just like, surprise, this dude's related to the former Mizukage. This dude is related to Kisame, even though he's not blue. Still don't understand the shark thing. We'll love an answer on that. This woman is related to the last guy who was dead 100 million years ago because he got resurrected during the war, and that blade had just been somewhere. So that was just happened. That's his daughter now. They're just like connecting stuff that just almost doesn't make sense. A bunch of people just been banging. So, all these different connections and stuff. But Suigetsu was mad, and he gives Mitsuki like this random scroll, and of course he kind of messes with Inojin and Shikadai by basically doing like the bullet gun fingers behind their head. But ultimately everything's fine. It's like, alright, you guys go ahead, help Boruto, fight the good fight, and then that's pretty much it. So everyone's gonna basically end up in the fight by the end of the next episode, or I would assume before the end of the next episode. But at this point we have Boruto, Sarada, and then Chojuro, who has been completely captured. Like, he gets captured super early on, and like the 3 people are basically there just torturing him. We have the creepy girl who's using like the needle thing, which is honestly one of my favorite of the ninja swordsman weapons. That's actually been one of my favorites, so I love that she's using that. We of course have the demon blade, Zabuza's blade, which is probably the best one. I mean, honestly, I don't know if I call it my favorite, but if Zabuza's holding it, it's my favorite because I love Zabuza as a character, which is like so weird. He's like one of the best characters that's ever been in Naruto, and he was the first main villain, and then they brought him back during the Great War, which was still amazing when they brought him back. Him and Haku came back, so it's like, that's when you know you got a great character. He's the first main villain, and I still think about him like going through all of Naruto and even Shippuden. I was like, I kind of miss Zabuza. He was always one of the coolest dudes. So let you know a character's sweet. But the blade is there, always a cool blade. Still the shorter version because they haven't really like cut too many people up. Then I think the big guy who just screams, he was making me laugh. Like, they'd be talking and, like, taunting Chojuro and be like, we were doing this, and Shizuma basically, like, helped us realize that we can fight back and take this village back to what it was. And then the girl would say something, and, like, she would say something, the guy would say something, they would kind of go back and forth. And then it would go to the big guy, and he's just like, ah, and he would just grunt. And I was like, what is this? Like, why? Why did they do that? It made me laugh. But I'm just like, why would they put that in there like that? He's just grunting. Sometimes, like, one time he said something, and then the second time, he just screamed. And I was like, okay, whatever. It was funny, though. So, he had the mallet and blade combo, and so they're, like, torturing Chojuro, and, just kind of messing with him, piece by piece. Naturally, that's going to allow him to be saved in the next episode. And then you have the guy who has the paper bomb blade, and he's kind of just, like, the lookout, so he'll be, like, the first line of defense once the other characters end up getting to the fight. And then, naturally, because the other characters, the big guy, the, like, short woman, and then the other guy, with them taking all day to taunt Chojuro, naturally that will allow one of the heroes to come in, cut the needles or whatever, and then Chojuro will be alive, and then they'll fight. So they're kind of just holding it off at this point. It's like they could have totally killed him off. They could team up. All three of them would have been dead. Like, Boruto, Sarada, and Chojuro would have been easily killed off going up against 7 people, because Boruto and Sarada, they don't have that many skills at this point, and Chojuro's by himself. So it just wouldn't work. But naturally, gotta wait, get the reinforcements, have our grand battle, which I assume, I didn't do it last time because I was like, who knows, because I've been wrong every single time. They're going into possibly the final episode. We might get 2, considering there are 7 people. I wouldn't be surprised if we still got, another episode after next week's, because next week focuses specifically on Sarada. It wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if that really was a big focus, and then it still went into another episode, making this arc much longer than I ever anticipated. I really thought it was going to be such a short arc, and it's gone into something, much grander. So it's very interesting how long it's been going on for, and, every other person is related to some other character that's been in Naruto before. But, excuse me, fairly decent episode. It's really simple. Boruto and Sarada going to Chojuro and Mei. I did like that scene where it was like, it's supposed to be like this grand thing, and it's like, alright, you two stay out of this, and Chojuro's like, unfortunately, Kagura being involved, he will have to suffer the fate that he's chosen, even if he was kind of forced into it. And then Boruto was like, it's just a fight between kids, basically, and Mei's like, that's kind of a cool concept, but did you really think we'd accept that? And then he's like, oh man, like, I've been hit, and it would be real bad if I went home to my dad, and that would start like this whole political thing, right? So I thought that was actually a really funny sequence, just because he thought of it on the fly. It was just like a silly way to kind of force the simple idea that he had, which is basically, it's not this grand war thing, it's just a fight between some kids, no big deal. So it was just funny the way he went about it, just being like, oh, I'm so hurt, like, it would suck, political stuff. I went to my dad, and I was hurt on a field trip. That would suck. So I actually really liked that scene because I thought it was fairly funny. But like I said, ultimately, fairly simple episode. They went into it. They're building up, like I said, the final battle, because everyone in their own way knows what's going on, like something weird is happening, so they're going to end up helping Boruto and Sarada and Chojuro. So Sarada facing off against this woman, basically like down in this cave. That should be pretty fun. Like I said, I'm looking forward to that. As far as everybody else coming in, Mitsuki coming in with Inojin and Shikadai, that should be pretty fun. I'm curious what Mitsuki is going to do, because these characters, I would assume, are at least fairly capable. So Mitsuki is that character where it's like, he's insanely powerful for the age that he's at because of all the stuff that's happened with him. So I'm curious if it's going to be an actual challenge for him to go up against some of these characters. Even with them, even with him having backup, because he's going to have Shikadai, Inojin, Iwabe eventually is going to get there. I don't know if he's going to force the other guy to come along with him, but they're all going to be there, and it's like, is that going to be a challenge for him, or is he going to have enough help to where he's still basically OP? Like, everyone he fights that's around his age, Mitsuki can destroy because he's insanely powerful, for someone his age. So I'm curious how they're going to kind of do that with him being so insanely tough versus some of these other, much tougher characters than he's faced before, with them being, teenagers/adults. I would assume they're all adults, especially considering Shizuma was Kagura's teacher, and they're even older now, so I would assume everyone is officially an adult. I think the one woman is just short. I don't think she's actually like a girl. I'm assuming she's just a short woman. But I am looking forward to the next episode. This one was decent. Like I said, it was really like right in the line. It was just right in the middle. I didn't think anything about it was like super great, over the top. Even the action itself was fairly short. It was like they got separated, and that was pretty much all that happened. Even for the action, the mist came in, Chojuro gets captured. And it's like, oh, it's kind of tense, and they're just torturing him pretty much. Sarada gets affected by the dude using the paper bomb blade, so she falls into the cavern. That's when the woman comes down. So that's, that's how they end up in their thing. And then Boruto is kind of just almost being like taunted a little bit by Shizuma, and then Kagura as well. So like not too much really happened. It was like tense, but it was just it was anime tense. It was like, well, there's tension, but it's like the first part of this fight that may or may not last 3 more episodes when they get the backup, and then they focus on this part of the fight for a full episode and this part of the fight for another full episode. So it was like right in the middle there. They had some funny moments that I enjoyed, and it was just a lot of simple stuff. Kagura going through his emotions and him being like, no matter what the case is, I kind of have to follow this. But then he made like another solution as to why he could follow and be a part of the new 7 Ninja Swordsmen, and it was basically him kind of thinking about his grandfather, where it's like, okay, if you're saying that what you're starting here by destroying like this memorial is to basically, bring back the names that have been forgotten by the past, then I will follow you, because that's a part of what he wants. And they talk about that before with Iwabei, where he's like, I don't want people to forget the past. I want them to know the crappy stuff they did. And Kagura was like, I kind of want the same thing. So it made sense. It wasn't like just an illogical thing he just made up just so he could, be with the villains. It was something that he has mentioned before, and I was like, I kind of like that. It wasn't just another excuse. It was like both reasons make sense. He already had like the guilt factor, and then he found a reason that he already talked about, in a previous episode, where it's like, okay, if that's what you're doing, then I can still follow behind you even without the kind of forced element. I can just naturally follow you and still believe in what you're kind of doing here, even if technically it's insane and bad. So I like that that was actually logical. It wasn't just something dumb that he just made up just to, like I said, side with the villains and have an excuse to be with them. It wasn't, outside of the guilt thing. So I was like, all right, that works. I like when it's that way, because otherwise, even the way that they had, even if they didn't do that this episode, I would have been fine, because the guilt thing actually did work for me, because like that's how guilty he felt, because he almost killed a guy. He wounded his teacher, but he almost killed someone that was his own age. So it's like, totally makes sense. Like that guilt, I could see that guilt being there. That's like his whole life. It's a Naruto sort of situation. So I was like, okay, that I can totally understand that. And then they made a secondary reason in this episode that also makes sense, and it calls back to something they already talked about. So definitely enjoyed that. Just writing wise, thought that was good. There's a scene in here, I can't remember what the heck happened, but they don't do it too much, but this is seriously the point of Boruto. And I mentioned this when the series like first started, and this is like in the manga as well. And the whole point of Boruto when it like first kicks off is like, I'm Boruto, I'm not my father, I'm nothing like him. And there's a scene in here where I can't remember, I wish I could remember exactly what he said, but there was something he said, I think it was about Kagura, and it was like, letting him die or something like that is better than him betraying his friends, or it was something. And I was like, that's exactly what Naruto would have said. Like he said some specific line, I was like, yeah, he's nothing like his dad. That was like, just I wish I could remember so bad. I watched it like earlier today, but I really wish I could remember the exact line he said. But it was something, and I was like, that is literally what his father would say. And I know, like I said, they don't talk about that anymore, where it's like, I'm nothing like my dad. But that is like, every time it comes up now, all I think of is like the first couple of episodes or the first couple of chapters of the manga are exactly the same. It's been forever since I read the manga too. But like, that's all I think about every time he does something exactly like Naruto. I'm like, yep, nothing like his dad, nothing whatsoever, because that was literally like the first chunk of story was, check it out, totally different character, nothing like him in any way, shape, or form. I care so much about my friends, I'd rather die than lose my friends. That's totally different than Naruto. But just wanted to mention that because it's been a minute since that came up, but it was, the line was just so verbatim. I'm like, I swear Naruto probably said that 5 times at least, in the actual Naruto and Shippuden as well. And it was just like, that's just funny. It was just funny to me. But decent episode. Definitely looking forward to the next one. Like I said, with Sarada fighting, so that should be hopefully entertaining. It's been a minute since we've had like a really cool action sequence. We've had some clashes and stuff, and like some cool moments, like Boruto doing like his Boruto stream thing, even though that lasted for 2 seconds, and they just were like, whatever. I haven't really had like an epic action sequence in a minute, so I'm hoping we get something really cool, even if it's not like insanely over the top. hope we get something pretty sweet from Sarada, going through this next battle. So we'd love to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, your least favorite parts about it, and I want to know what you guys are looking forward to with Sarada's fight versus this woman. I wish I could think of her name. All I remember is that the blade is called like the Kiba Fang or something like that because of Kiba, or I think it's like the Kiba Blade Lightning Fang, something like that. But we'd love to know what you guys are hoping to see with Sarada, fighting this character, especially with it being a younger version of Sarada just developing her powers. It's hard to say what I want to see from it because I don't know where they could go with it. Like, there's like one sequence where they show that she's about to do Fireball Jutsu, so I think that's pretty cool. But I would love to see her, of course, utilize this being the old original version of the Sharingan, which has just no play whatsoever ever since Sasuke went like Mangekyo. Ever since the series did that, it was like, and leave that crap behind. Like, this is the basic form. She can see what's about to happen before it happens. So I'm looking forward to that. I want to see like almost like calculations and stuff. It even fits her character to kind of do that sort of thing. So that's really just what I want to see, like her utilizing her genius with this new ability that she has and still learning to cope with this ability and how she can utilize that to like better her jutsu and things like that as well. So that's what I want to see. We'd love to know what you guys want to see from this fight in the next episode. And of course, like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.